Welcome to episode 5 of Coffee with Coach Caffey. You know, when I was a young man, I worried about a lot of things. I wanted a car, and I thought that would make me happy if I could get one. And so my dad, after I worked and made the money, my dad found an old Oldsmobile for me, and got about 8 miles per gallon. And it was an old clunker, but the radio worked in it, so I was pretty happy. I worried that I would not have a girlfriend, and so, that was a concern of mine. I wanted to get a scholarship because I knew that was the only way I could pay for college. I wanted to marry and have kids. I wanted to get a job that I could make $20,000 a year. I thought if I ever made that much money, I'd be set. I wanted to be a head football coach, and if the Lord decided to call me home today, it'd be all right, because everything that I ever really wanted in life, I've got. The best of those may be the grandchildren I have now. But as I look back down that trail of life and see the things that have transpired in my life, I realized that it was silly to worry as much as I did. And I hope that you can use my experience and maybe not worry quite as much. Matthew 6:34 says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This is just one of the many scriptures that tells us, do not worry, do not be afraid. Evidently, God knew this was going to be a problem. It certainly was for me. But worry robs us of happiness. And my advice to you is enjoy your life. Live in the moment you're in right now. And don't worry about the future. When I went to my first day on the job at Spring Lake Earth, I talked to people around, and they said, well, our junior high team was really weak over the last couple of years. Didn't score many points and didn't win any games. And so they didn't really expect much out of that group. So I stood at the door of the field house as those young men filed in, and I looked them over. And I've been a head coach a long time, and I've seen programs. I built a lot of programs, and as those young men filed in, I saw a lot of potential in them. They were good-looking bunch of kids, and there was a lot of them. My 4th year at Spring Lake Earth, those young men were in the 11th and 12th grade. And through time and consistency, they had become a fine football team. So in 2009, we won all of our games up until the 10th ball game, and we lost. We lost the second week in 2009, and against Texaco, New Mexico. Then we won all the rest of our games until we got to the 3rd week of the playoffs. We won the district championship. And we got to host up that gold ball after we beat Morton. And that was a great moment. The next hurdle we had to overcome, though, was to win in the playoffs. We've been in the playoffs 3 years in a row and hadn't had yet to win in the playoffs. And so we had to overcome that hurdle. So we ended up playing Hale Center in Shallow-Water. And even though we kind of dominated the game, we still only won by 7 points. The next week we met Seagrays at Friendship High School. They were a very talented team, and we came from behind to beat them, and we were chosen Army Strong Team of the Week for our performance that night. It was a great win for us. The day after Thanksgiving, we met Stratford in Canyon. Every high school team has the goal to play on Thanksgiving weekend, every high school football team. And this was before the UIL had divided each classification into divisions, big school and small school, and Stratford was a good deal bigger than us. And they had more athletes and they had a size advantage. We lost a hard-fought game, but we had learned how to win in the playoffs. Finished 11-2. We said goodbye to a great group of seniors, but we realized we had a good team coming back. Old Corbin Parrish was one of those seniors, and I've told his story many times. He was working on the family farm during the summer before his senior year and had a heat-related illness. And so the doctors didn't think that he would recover in time to play any football his senior year. So we started the year and Corbin wasn't able to practice, and we were very disappointed because he'd worked so hard and was a good leader on the team. We left his equipment in the locker room just in case and told him we expected him to come back and play eventually. And so he stayed with the team. He was a great encourager. And eventually he was able to suit up and play his senior year. He's now an Army Special Forces, in the Army Special Forces, and is an inspiration to all to never give up on their dreams. The 2010 season, the Wolverines started the polls, and in some polls we were ranked in the top 4 or 5 in the state, and eventually we were ranked number 1. I talked to the team about how the Lord exalts the humble and opposes the proud, and I think we handled our high ranking pretty well. And we won all of our ball games up until week 10 against Farwell. I kind of think we were looking past them and getting ready for the playoffs. We lost in a bizarre game at Farwell. The loss caused us to have a much tougher playoff bracket, and it cost us a district championship. We faced Seagraves in the first round, and we beat Seagraves that year 42-0 in an easy game. But the next week we had to run into Wellington, and Wellington was a fine football team. We won the game 34-28. Blake Betts led us on an 80-yard drive with 1:30 left in the ball game, and scored on 25 ISO, and Blake kept it and ran in the end zone. Scored too fast, though, and left them about 30 seconds on the clock. We kicked off to them, and they moved the ball down and threw a pass in our end zone, and Elder Rojas knocked it down at the buzzer, and we won the game. It was a great ball game. But that set us up for a rematch with Farwell. We felt like we were a better team than Farwell when we played them during the regular season. They beat us by 3 points. And we were really looking forward to playing Farwell on a neutral field. We played them in Lubbock, and we overpowered the Steers 34-0 for a sweet victory. It was a memorable moment to be able to go across the field and shake hands with those Farwell Steers after that game. The quarterfinal game was against Windthorst in Sweetwater. There were some great teams in Spring Lake Earth over the years, but none had ever made it to the quarterfinals. The community and team were fired up. Injuries sometimes can play a big role in small school football. And I believe one play cost us a state championship that year. Our star quarterback, Blake Betts, tore his ACL early in the game, and even though Anthony Carrasco came in and did an amazing job, rushed for over 200 yards, we couldn't quite regain our traction, and we lost the game. We went back to Spring Lake Earth, and one of the great moments that I can remember about that is to award the medals, those third-place medals, to those young men, the coaches, the administrators, and the support staff that we had there at Spring Lake Earth. It was a really great moment. Patrick Jefferson made a highlight film, and we watched that and met in the auditorium to do that. It was really a lot of fun. The Wolverines were back, and nobody wanted to play us the next year. It was time to reschedule, so we had to put together an even tougher schedule, and we lost some early ball games, and I think we might have had a losing record at midway through the season. But you know what? Those Wolverines are scrappy, and so we fought back and went back to the regional finals, lost just barely to Wellington again, and had a great year. And so then the year after that, we even had another good one. I think we counted up, and Nathan Garcia's class got to play 57 high school football games during their 4-year career at Spring Lake Earth, and that's quite an accomplishment. And we built a strong foundation for football at Spring Lake Earth. Thanks for watching. Next week we're going to talk about the quarterbacks that I've coached over the years, and I have coached some great ones. See you next week.